Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? It is such a privilege to be here with you this morning. And I walk in and I don't know if you can feel it, but I feel like you're coming home. I feel like I know you, that I've seen you somewhere, that we've had a coffee, that I'm coming to visit my friends and that we're going to have a very nice conversation around knowledge management and innovation. So thank you for the introduction, Marty. Such a privilege to be here. And from Somerset West all the way from Gauteng. Who's from Gauteng? Are you from? Many of you, right? Hometown for me as well. Grown, bred in Gauteng, in Cape Town now for 4 years. And since then, I've learned to surf the waves. Huh? It sounds very impressive. It's not. We get dumped, we get rolled, but it's wonderful. So Cape Town is great, enjoying every second. Have got Pretoria and Gauteng in my heart. And today talking innovation management, knowledge management, and how we can bridge that gap. So I don't know if they're going to put my presentation on, or do I need to press next? Oh, there it is. So, welcome again. We talk today about innovation. How do we ignite innovation through knowledge? And also giving special attention to aligning it with ISO 56001. We're going to spend some time on that. I would like to introduce you to the innovation management standards. Anybody here very familiar with the knowledge management standards? Raise your hand. Yes. Perfect. Anybody heard about ISO 56001, Innovation Management Standards? Perfect. Great. So that's what I'm so passionate about. And I would like to introduce you a little bit to that today. But before we start, I've got a question. So ponder this. What is the most valuable asset in your organization today? Is it capital? Is it technology? Is it knowledge? Yeah. Knowledge? Is it how well do we interact with AI? Sorry. Is it people? Yeah. So the question then is, how are we using knowledge? Because that's our most important asset, isn't it? To ignite innovation. Because without knowledge, innovation will not be very valuable, will it? Knowledge needs to give us direction. So we're going to focus on that today. On the agenda, we're going to start with knowledge management versus innovation management. And if I turn my head, can you still hear me? Yeah? Perfect. So we're going to start with that. Then ISO 56000, the family, the standards. I'm just going to introduce it to you very quickly so that you have an idea what we talk about when we say ISO 56000, then how do we bridge the innovation and knowledge management practice gap? What can we do to get most value from that? And then a practical action checklist will take us to the conclusion as well. So let's consider what is innovation. Very important for us to know what it means if we want to make sure that we realize that value. So innovation is a new or changed entity according to ISO 56001, realizing or redistributing value. So how do we move from intent, what we need to get right or do, to that realized value? Unless we realize value, we're not talking innovation. We're talking something else, whether it's invention or creativity or business model thinking, but we need to realize value for it to be innovation. So what's innovation management and what is knowledge management? What comes to mind when you think about knowledge management? Hoarding all the information, being in a library, keeping everything together, just making sure we're keeping our data and our information. And what about innovation management? Is it maybe having a wizard trying to do magic? How do we align the stars? A bit chaos, but impossible. Herding stars. Is that what innovation is? These pictures were kindly created for me by AI. I don't know if you like them. But they're interesting, isn't it? Knowledge management, innovation management, it sounds a bit boring, but in the end, it is how we create that value from the knowledge and the information that we have at our disposal. So just to give a quick background in terms of what innovation management is. So innovation management is management with regard to innovation, and that can include establishing the innovation vision, the strategy, the policy, the innovation objectives, organizational structures in innovation processes to achieve those objectives. And we do that through planning, support, operations, performance, and so forth. And if you're familiar with the KM standards, that should sound familiar as well. So innovation management refers to what we need to do to make sure that innovation is happening in the organization. Because if we just leave it, something might happen, but it might happen in silos, and it might not be impactful, and it might not be strategic or maybe what we're looking for. So if we manage innovation effectively, we can get to the value, which is the reason that we do innovation. Because innovation exists to make our strategy so, isn't it? It's our enabler, our lever for making sure that we grow, that we become resilient, that we can react in a positive way through innovation capability that we have been building to realize value, new services, new products, resilience for our organizations, because we live in a world that's increasingly complex, don't we? So how do we make sure that we keep up, that we do the right things? So what is knowledge management? Do you agree? I don't have to tell you, you can tell me, right? Do you agree with that definition? It's a discipline that focuses on making the best use of knowledge to achieve the organization's objectives. What's your objective? To grow, to differentiate, to remain relevant, right? But knowledge is also about knowledge creation and acquisition. We need to create knowledge, make sure we keep on getting knowledge. How do we get knowledge? When we innovate and we come up with new things, we create new knowledge, right? It's also about storage of knowledge. It's also about knowledge sharing. How do we do that? But specifically, and most importantly, it's about knowledge application, putting knowledge into action to solve problems, make decisions, and innovate. You agree? Does it make sense? So, if that is the case, if knowledge management is meant for action, how well are we using that to fuel innovation? What are you doing? Does somebody want to tell me maybe? How do you deal with this? Knowledge management, innovation, because the one speaks to the other. Do you think about knowledge in the context of making innovation happen? Yes? Do you align your strategies to make that happen? So let's look at ISO. Let me tell you quickly what the innovation management standards look like. And those that's familiar with it, please assist, please jump in. So if we look at ISO 56000, the series of innovation management standards, so we've got 56001 above, that's a requirement standard, but all of them have been published, which is very exciting. It's work that's been going on for 13, 14, 15 years, right? 80 countries around the world are working together to talk innovation and what makes it successful, to talk about innovation and how we build that capability in the organization. So we have 56,000, which is the fundamentals and the vocabulary. It's just defining all of the concepts. What is innovation? And for the first time in forever, people are starting to talk the same language around innovation. Isn't that exciting? Because it used to be very fuzzy, right? What is innovation? Oh, I don't know. It's this person who's just weird. Their mother dresses them funny and, you can't keep them quiet. And they're this arty person. No? And now innovation is being defined. All the concepts are being defined. It's becoming a discipline. a management discipline, like a financial role or a human resources function in the organization. Innovation is becoming a business discipline just like those. And 56,000 is helping us to understand what it means. It defines everything. It puts some context around it. 56,001 is a requirement standard. It was published. It's available. It can be enforced. You can be certified. Around 56,001, published last year, September. It is brand new. In South Africa, and I think everywhere else in the world, we are still having discussions in terms of what this means, how organizations can create value from that, what it means for the organization. Is it worthwhile certifying? Obviously, we're having the conversations. Are you serious? You're trying to certify innovation. You want to put it in a box, right? It's not possible. And we're having all of those conversations. It's not about certification. It is about being able to build an innovation capability, because in the organization, we need to move from assumption, right, to knowledge. Yeah? From uncertainty, which is the business environment that we live in, towards certainty, right? And that is what innovation management help us do. How do we do that most effectively? And how, as an organization, big or small, because they are applicable to large organizations and to small organizations across the board, every industry of every size, every organization of every size, because everything we do is based on our context, the context of the organization, right? But it's not about ticking a box or certifying. It's about getting in the organization, applying innovation towards your context and building a capability for innovation so that we do the right things, so that we can turn knowledge into value, assumptions into certainty. So that's the requirement standard recently published. 56,002 is the guiding standard, the same framework that 56,001 is based on. And then we've got 3 tools and methods for innovation partnerships. Innovation management assessment. We've got tools and methods for IP management, tools and methods for strategic intelligence management, tools and methods for managing opportunities and ideas, right? If you've got an idea, how do we manage that? Through a pipeline to get to an innovation portfolio of the best suited opportunities for our organizations. And then we've got tools and methods for innovation operations measurement. I was very involved in that standard specifically as well. And then we also have illustrative examples. So up to here, we've got 56,008. 9 is ready for publication as well. As we speak, 11 is taking form. If I remember correctly, it's the framework that they're going to use to certify organizations around. But 56,012 is taking shape. That is around ecosystem management for innovation. And I'm also part of ISO 56013, which is talking about innovation portfolio management. Right? So as I stand here and as I speak to you around innovation and innovation management, the standards are happening at the back. They are being worked at, they are being finalized, and we are adding to it. Right? So guidance, helping organizations to do innovation better, to build that innovation capability. Right? So this should be familiar. It's the same high-level structure that the knowledge management standard will be built on, but we see it as the 7 key elements of innovation capability building. If you want to build an effective capability in innovation and be successful, you need to give attention to each of these. And we're not going to unpack it today. I would love to speak to you about it later. You can get hold of me as well. I've written articles and got some infographics that I can share with you as well. But it's about getting the context right? Understanding what's happening internal to your organization, external to your organization. What are those trends? That's where knowledge comes in, right? And then also what's happening with your stakeholders, people around you, customer, clients, people in your ecosystem, because if you understand that, you will do the right things. You will innovate on the right stuff. It's about context. It's about leadership. It's about how we plan for innovation. It is about how we support innovation. It's the things we do, operations, to enable innovation. It's about how we evaluate and creating those feedback loops to make sure we improve. It's also the innovation system, because innovation is being managed from a systems perspective. How do we move from intent to value? It also got 8 innovation management principles. So if you manage innovation in the organization, these are the things that you need to do. So how do we realize value, which is everything that innovation is about? How do we take the knowledge, the learnings, what we know is happening in trends, and how do we turn it into value? It's an innovation management principle. Future-focused leaders, the only one that appears twice as a key capability element, as well as an innovation management principle. Without our leaders, nothing is going to happen. We're not going to go anywhere. Very important discussion. What are their roles? Understand that help with that. Strategic direction. We need to create that alignment or we're going to waste time. So if we're not going to focus on our strategy, then let's go and have some pina coladas on the beach, because that will be time better spent. If we're not aligning to strategy, using innovation to enable our strategy, we're wasting time. Make sure that happens. Culture, you know how important that is. Exploiting insights, my favorite one. It should be yours as well. Right? Where do we get the correct information that we should consider so that we innovate on the right things that's going to help us to remain relevant? How do we do the exploitation? How do we find the right information? Managing uncertainty, very important. Uncertainty is seen as an opportunity in the innovation context. And making sure we're an adaptable organization, and then having a systems approach, meaning everything comes together from a holistic perspective and everything is integrated, correlated. What happens on the one side happens on the other side, and innovation is managed from that systems perspective. Okay, so how do we bridge innovation and knowledge management? What is knowledge management without innovation? Knowledge management without innovation, we get knowledge that's managed well, but it may miss opportunities to create new value. Right? So we need innovation and knowledge management. What is innovation without knowledge management? If knowledge management is not integrated and part of the thinking that we employ for innovation management, innovation becomes a silo, because the knowledge base makes it relevant. It sustains it. So we can't have innovation without knowledge management. We need both. It's integrated, right? So together, they create learning and adaptive organization where knowledge fuels innovation, right? It makes innovation happen. And innovation expands the knowledge base because we learn, and then again, we expand our knowledge base. So in that way, we turn knowledge into value, which for me is the most direct link between knowledge and innovation. How do we manage knowledge? How do we manage innovation? In the end, it's about both, because innovation is not that worthwhile without knowledge, because we'll be doing the wrong things. And without innovation, knowledge will just be that librarian in the dusty library, keeping our knowledge and our things, maybe these days on a piece of technology, but it will still be just information. How do we turn that into value? So, last slide, practical takeaways. What can we do to bridge that gap? Start with the shared language, align knowledge management and innovation frameworks so that teams don't talk about each other. Integrate that. Map the critical knowledge assets. So identify which knowledge domains fuel your innovation strategy. Where do we need to go? What information do we have? Right? And how do we elevate that so that we innovate on the right things? Close the loop. Establish routines where insights from projects are systematically fed back into the innovation management system. Close that loop. What do we learn? What do we need to change or innovate on, and feed that into your innovation management system, which can be a technology or something else, and leverage technology wisely, because innovation is not technology. Knowledge management is not technology. It is about what goes in there, the human practices, that we need to give more attention to. The communities of practice, the after action reviews, that's where the value lies. Right? And then measure the impact. So track how knowledge utilization accelerates time to market, reduce risk, and enhance resilience. We need to create that measurement, but you know that because that's how you create those feedback loops and learn them. So let me leave you with the last slide. This one was also generated by AI. In essence, knowledge management provides the base for innovation, the insight, the lessons, the capabilities. But innovation management provides the application. How do we transform knowledge into new value? So that innovation management is not a wizard that creates magic every now and again, hoping for the best, trying to align the stars, but that knowledge management really gets integrated in the way that we think about innovation so that we can turn that knowledge into value. Thank you very much for your time.
So thank you very much for that presentation.
Hello, good morning, everybody, and thank you for the presentation. How does scenario planning play into the innovation space? And then also in organizations, we need to get things done on a daily basis, so we need some formality to make sure that the objectives are met. And then innovation seems to be, you thrive on disruption because within disruption comes new value. How do we balance that as well? Thank you.
It's a very good question. Thank you very much. So scenario planning is a methodology and approach that we use to think about the future, right? Or not. So how do we integrate that in the way that we manage innovation? It is helping us to think about new things and then going into the innovation management system to get towards implementation. That was the one part of the question. The other part? Again, how do we balance it? Innovation in essence is disruptive. It depends on what type of innovation you're working with, right? Incremental, radical, transformational, in between. So in the way that you will create your innovation management process, you will have certain pathways to get towards implementation. The more disruptive, the more removed you need to be from the general workings of the organization, because a different set of rules will apply to everything. Right? From ideation to experimentation to funding to who we need to get involved to help us think and take this to market. Your traditional way of doing business with traditional budgets are not going to be relevant. So the more disruptive the innovation project, possibly the more removed it needs to be from the traditional workings of the organization. A different set of rules need to apply. And that's where the innovation portfolio will come in. Innovation portfolio management. How will you decide what projects will be taken forward, and where will your focus be on what type of innovation? That alignment with your strategy and your innovation portfolio will guide that process and that pathway forward. Also in terms of idea development and getting it to market. I hope that helps.
Wonderful presentation, Henra. The quickest way to get old is to work for a municipality. I look like I'm over 40, but I'm not.
21, I can see.
Now, here's a trick. Knowledge management, innovation, all these things need to tie down to the strategy. Now, the question is, which strategy? Because in municipality, we're talking about the 3-year strategy, we're talking about the ID, 5-year ID, and the growth and development plans,
Yes.
and all these strategies, every 5 years,
They change.
And what is worse is the legislation actually allows and actually enforces to say one administration cannot plan for the other, you know. So you find these dips and rise and dip and rise. Now, if you're going to embed and practice as a knowledge management, maybe strategies,
Yeah.
you know,
It's not easy.
It's not easy. I mean, lightly, of course, you become a schizophrenic, you know. So, so now, how do you actually navigate? How do you then maybe turn around and say, okay, I'm going to be the leader of the pack,
Yeah.
in the sense that now yours is very continuous, and we're talking of legacies, we're talking of 10, 15, even 50-year kind of planning.
Yes.
Let me give you an example. I stayed briefly in the US. There's a little town similar like this called Plymouth. When they interview the municipality manager, they call them administrators. They don't invite him and say, give us your plan. You know, they'll invite 10, maybe 12 people to say, come for an interview. Here's a document. It's a 50-year-old plan that has actually been planned. And take this and go and prepare. Whoever is going to bring us closer
To realize that.
to realize that, you know, is the one that's going to get the job. Whereas in South Africa, you know, it's almost like, yeah, we're going to interview you. Come with plans. And you get these kind of things that we, you know, and this is something that knowledge management sort of frown upon, to say knowledge need to be actually continuous. You know, there must be knowledge retention, and of course, town are built by knowledge retention. You know, it's help
From a
me
municipality? Are you from a municipality?
in Gauteng nogal.
From Gauteng. Joburg, Otswani, Joburg. Oh, West Rand. All right. I like your question, and it's a very relevant question. And it is a complex environment. It's actually something that I'm researching at the moment. But I can give you some examples of what other cities are doing and what the city of Cape Town is doing. And I am so excited about what's coming out of there. They've got leadership roundtables, right? Where leadership get together, and we're taking research that comes from their market research. Now I can't remember what it's called. Customer survey specifications or customer satisfaction surveys. So they take that information and they feed it into their innovation projects. Right. So what's coming out there? This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. Let's put an innovation project around that. They create projects from that using design thinking and involving students and the community and other stakeholders. It's extremely exciting. Leadership now jumped up and down. They've been to an outside venue already talking about the knowledge management standards. Looking at all of them, they've created an innovation strategy that talks to all of this, but the innovation strategy integrates all of the other plans, right? So it's not just separate innovation objectives and all of that. Innovation objectives talks to what they need to achieve, to these other plans. So it's all integrated into that. So leadership all knows about that and how it fits together, the innovation management standard, where they need to focus. So top leadership had a get together on that quite recently. And now they creating, they had a future report done by a service provider that highlighted some future initiatives that the city needs to consider. So they're now taking those outcomes from this report and they're creating 7 leadership groups. We're going back to an outside venue. They're creating 7 leadership groups, and those groups are each going to get a theme to work on. We're taking them through 2 techniques. We're taking them through a futures scenario planning event, initiative that they're going to apply to that. And then we're taking them through jobs to be done. You've heard about jobs to be done, Christensen. So we're giving them those tools. And then we're taking the leaders, we're putting them in groups. They're going to apply those tools in these groups to these future thinking related outcomes. And then they're going to pitch to their leadership like dragons in a dragon den. So it's how you bring the real world together, linking everything that you need to achieve, translating those in innovation objectives, and then get your leadership to set the stage. Not perform on it, but set the stage so that people can make it happen. I hope it helps. I need to get off stage.
Thank you very much, Henra. We really appreciate your contribution. It's a small gift from us.